Hello, everyone, and welcome to Network Roundtable, the soccer side of business, where we talk about core values and how they relate to yourself and your business. We like to blend the two because really you can't take the person out of the business. Today we have our core value of prosperity, and we have with us Stephanie Sims of Financeability. She is representing our core value and in the form of being our +1 superhero. And she has brought Kristin Bowen of CLB Life, and she is our +1 sidekick. And I have my lovely host with me, Gail Harris, and you may know her from the work that she's done with Brandy Raris. She's just written some fabulous, fabulous books. Let's see, where should we start today, ladies? Shall we?
How about the topic? What are we talking about?
I have a question. Can I jump in and get this going?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so we're talking about prosperity here, and so Stephanie, my question is for you. So you must have signed up for this subject, prosperity, and I would like to know why of all the people in this entire universe, you chose Kristin Bowen to be your sidekick in terms of talking about prosperity. I'd like to know why.
Okay, well, that's a really good question, and it's really funny because when we planned to do this show, it was a while ago. It was probably maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and I already knew that I wanted to do the show with Kristin, but I have been lucky enough to be working with her very, very closely in like the last month. And every single time we get together, I'm like, I am so glad we're doing that show together. I am so, so glad. Because here's the thing. I talk a lot about money, right? Because I'm a finance person, and a lot of what I do talks about the money in your business and making sure you protect your personal money. And I think that a lot of people think of that when they think of prosperity. But what I love about Kristin and what I want us to talk about today is the fact that prosperity does not necessarily mean just more dollars in the bank. It means having a life that you love that you can support with your business, right? So it's really, Kristin talks about the total package, which I love that phrase when she uses it, but it's really having the total package. Being prosperous doesn't mean you're a millionaire necessarily. It means that you actually have a very full and, I don't want to say comfortable, but complete life. And that's something I really admire, that Kristin is always focused on that, right? She's not just kind of, well, let me go chase this new product or let me go run off and do this thing. She's always thinking about how it fits into the whole picture of what she's doing, both in terms of, is this something that represents me as a person? Does it represent my core values? And am I helping other people while I'm on my journey? So that's the reason I want Kristin to be here, because I think she says it a lot better than I do, so we'll have to ask her. But basically, I think she's got such a great approach to prosperity.
So in your new book, Funding Your Business Without Selling Your Soul, and congratulations, by the way. I'm very proud of you. Do you address that at all? I'm just curious. I meant to ask you that, and I never have.
Yeah, well, we talk in the book. I do try to balance these two pieces, right? Because there's you as a business owner, clearly, as an individual, and there's you as, there's you as an individual and there's you as a business owner. Okay, I did that backwards. But I think that while I don't speak about it as clearly as we're going to do today, it's certainly something that underlies the work I did, because you can't be successful in your business if you're not happy with what you're doing, right? If you don't feel like it's fulfilling you, if you don't feel like you actually have a reason to get up every day and go to work besides the fact that you're going to make some money, then I don't see any way that you can really be successful. So, yeah, it's in the book, although it's probably not explicit. How about that?
Sure. Great. Thanks.
You bet. Thank you. So
Kristin?
I would love to hear from Kristin about, because she's been crazy out there today. She's posted all these great quotes, and she's told us all these different perspectives on prosperity. So maybe, what would be really cool? Kristin, do you have a definition of what prosperity means to you?
I do. Can you hear me? I'm blushing right now. I just thank you, Stephanie, for saying those sweet words. You are absolutely amazing in my book. First and foremost, I have to say thank you to Kristin and Gail for having me today, and Stephanie for you choosing me. And hey, everyone out there in the orchestra seats watching us, and those on YouTube as well. I'm really honored to be here, Stephanie. And my definition of prosperity is it goes back to what I call a selfie quote. Gail, you've heard this before. Hashtag selfie quote. It's a quote that comes from myself. True wealth is a mindset. And with the right mindset, anything is possible. So prosperity is a mindset. We have to look at things not from the actual monetary or paper money, cash money. We need to look at life in a holistic manner. So that's my approach when I say true wealth is a mindset. It's not just the money, as you say, Stephanie. It's what the money can do for you, if I may quote you, because that's a fabulous quote.
Well, thank you, and you know how I feel about you, so we're not going to spend the entire hour gushing, but anyway.
I know it's going to be a love fest. We love each other. Let's just get it out the way.
There you go. And everything I said was 100% true. And I love Gail and Kristin too, so I think for people who don't know how close we actually are, they're going to be like, whoa, these people got close really fast.
I know.
So anyway, I think it's really I liked the wholeness, the notion of, this holistic approach, which is obviously what I love about the way that you approach business, but also about the way that you approach everything like social media and all the things that you do. But I think it would be interesting to hear from Gail. What does prosperity mean to you?
It's a good question. Well, I'll answer, but I'm gonna throw it back to you with a question, but the question has to do with how I feel about it, or what I'm like inquiring about these days for myself personally. So prosperity in business. This is the question. You're this money person, you're this finance person, and I'm obviously not that. I'm the opposite. I'm more of like a creative type, and more of a think of business and everything more in a spiritual perspective. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we have to set goals and visions for things. I've really been talking about this in my radio campaign that I'm doing now for Finding Zoe, which has to do with trusting your intuition and making the right choices in your life. So what I often say is that you have to have visions and ideals and goals for what you want, and do everything that you can to achieve those goals. But then you also have to, once you do that, you have to step back in a sense and let the universe meet you halfway. For example, you have to maybe let go of the particulars and trust that what evolves is really what prosperity is all about. And so I'm just wondering, in terms of the numbers or the dollars and cents, is there room for that type of way of approaching it, or is it more like, you have to meet the bottom line, and I know that's a big part of it, but I guess what I'm asking is how does prosperity fit into the bottom line when you really, get down to it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and you raise a really interesting point, which is how you as an individual feel about the numbers. And it sounds really funny to talk emotions and numbers, but it's true. And there's a ton of work out there, people with a lot more experience in research and all kinds of stuff than me, who talk about the money mindset, right? But essentially, the way I look at it is this. If you are stressed about the number, then it doesn't matter what the number is, right? Somebody else might look at that number and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have that much money in savings. But if you're stressed about the number because you don't feel like it's the right number for you, then it's not doing you any good, right? And this is where it's so hard, because people would like it if they could just say, well, okay, but as long as I make, $100,000 a year, well, then everything's going to be fine, right? And they want that sort of assurance, or maybe that benchmark. If I make $100,000 a year, then I'm better off than all those other people who aren't. and then what they can do is they get down on themselves, right? So what they see the number as is not data. They see the number as some sort of judgment of who they are, right? And they take it personally. And somehow then they tell themselves this story about why that number is the way it is, and the mistakes maybe they made to get themselves there. And they can't make a good decision because, like you said, Gail, they're not letting the intuition about the right thing get out. They're just kind of smothering it with this whole story of, yeah, but that's the wrong number, and that makes me feel bad, and I don't like it. And so I think sometimes when you're in a position where it's not where you'd like to be, you have to do the same thing that you're saying, which is, I see the number, and what I need to do now is take a step back and let it just be. Not like, you're going to walk away from your business for a week and shut the door, but, give yourself the space to really try to tap into your intuition and not listen so much to the fear. Because a lot of times the number, what it does is it makes you afraid. And that is not a place where you can make good decisions, right? Anytime you're afraid, you're not making a decision that's true to your intuition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like you really answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you. Kristin, yeah. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Indeed. I am loving this conversation already. This is why Stephanie chose me, because this is the key to life right here, what we're discussing, I believe. The key to happiness and fulfillment. So Stephanie and I are on the same page, as are you, Gail, and I'm sure Kristin, she's busy hosting, which is awesome. This is why I say it's a mindset, because everything Stephanie just shared is based on the mindset of the person who is running that business. So if my philosophies are based on the laws of the universe, you mentioned the universe, Gail. So there is a certain amount of room that we have to leave to let these laws work in our favor. When I say leave room, I mean up here. So if we are focused on what's not working, if we're focused on lack, like Stephanie said, if we're focused on the negative balance in the bank account while we're running our business, and we're looking at that as a measure of success, that puts us in a darker, darker, darker mindset. And when we are focused on what's lacking, that's all the universe is going to keep delivering. So that's why I say it's a mindset. When we shift that mindset and we do not measure our worth with what's in our bank account, we will take the proper actions. If our mindset is in a place of, I am prosperous, I am enough, I am worth it, then our actions will naturally follow. And if our actions naturally follow, guess what comes after that? The money.
That's right. Right. And so I think what you're saying, I'm asking, but I think I understand, is that, so at any given moment, if you take like a freeze frame and a snapshot of your life, at that given time, it may not look exactly as you want it to be in that moment, but you really have to look at the bigger picture and not get hung up on each individual frame, if you will. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Napoleon Hill refers to it as temporary defeat. We have temporary defeats in life, and if we look at them as a measure of our worth, then we'll give up. We will give up. Stephanie?
Yeah, well, and this is something which I think, Gail, maybe even you and I have talked about before, but it's this sense of permanence, right? A lot of people get in the mindset, which Carol Dweck talks about, the fixed mindset, and they have this idea that, okay, what I've done right now is all I'm capable of doing. So let's take something super concrete. You're out there beating the bushes for new clients, right? And you can't get as many new clients as you want. Well, some people would just be like, okay, that means I'm a crap salesperson and I'm never going to succeed. And if you go into it, like Kristin says, with this mindset, you limit all of those really cool possibilities that could come from saying, what I'm doing isn't working, so let me think of other ways to try, right? Instead of letting it shut you down and say, I am just not qualified for this, say to yourself, this isn't the right way for me. And figure out, see it as a game even, which is something I read recently too. See it as a game. See how many different ways you can try instead of saying, I have to try this way and I have to stay focused on this one thing. And that was something you mentioned, Gail, that I found very interesting, is you can't be attached to the specific outcome, right? So you can't get focused on, I'm going to send out 5 emails and I need 3 of those people to respond and one of them is going to become a client and that's what's going to make my business go. You have to have a core value, a higher value approach, which is, I know I have something to offer. I'm going to offer it in a way that feels good to me and that allows the right people to be attracted by it. And when those right people are attracted, then I can show them how to work with me further. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just curious. So in your financial circles, are most financial people that you come across, do they have those values that, and of course it's never black and white, but that vision of prosperity? I'm just really curious if this is like a sort of a general way that people hold the numbers or not, like in your experience with like the banker, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
right.
like you talked about, you're looking for the suits or, however you talk
right,
about that. I mean, they're not interested in prosperity, are they? Or, maybe you need to find the right banker, but I'm just curious.
Right. Well, and I think you hit on it right there at the end. I think that, first off, everything is changing, right? The whole landscape of getting your business financed is changing. The whole economy, honestly, is changing. We're going to have a ton more people who are working for themselves, whether they call themselves business owners or not. And it's going to become, in my mind, a lot more important for everyone to understand how to identify somebody who has the same approach to partnership that they do. Because there are people out there, and again, we're talking about what prosperity means to us, right? There may be people out there, I'm sure there are, who are a lot more focused right now on the financial security aspects. And so, it's easy. I can say this, it's super easy to be focused on quality of life and all that when you can pay your bills. But if you can't pay your bills, you're probably focused on paying your bills. And that's okay because that's where you are. You need to recognize, though, that you want to partner with somebody who sees the world basically in the same way you do. And so it's really interesting. I was looking for a quote, and I think I found it. Okay, so I think that all of that said, I think that there are people out there who can see things this way, even though they're in the business of making money. But you just have to find them. And so this is from Paul Graham. He said, though plenty of investors are jerks, there's a clear trend among them. The most successful investors are also the most upstanding. Okay, so this is Paul Graham is a guy that co-founded Y Combinator, which is one of the biggest venture accelerators in Silicon Valley. So he's a guy who sees a lot of investors, and he's saying, look, generally speaking, people who are successful are the people who have their hearts in the right places. Even the suits.
Okay. And so you address that in your book?
We talk a lot about partnership. We talk a lot about finding, I laugh because Kristin and I were talking about this the other day, finding the suit that fits, right? Because
that's great. I like that.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Yeah, suits come in all different shapes and sizes, right? And it's true. If you're trying to partner, it's kind of like getting married. If you're trying to partner with somebody who is a wilderness survival expert and you like to sit on the couch and watch Mad Men, there might be some conflict there. You might have trouble making joint decisions. And it's the same in any kind of partnership for your business. You need to get to know the person so you can see, okay, when crunch time comes and we have to decide, we have to make the tough choices, do we have enough common ground to make those choices together?
So when you're going to the bank and looking for a loan to fund your business, are you also looking for the right suit? The suit that fits?
I think that there's less leeway there just because they're not such a close partnership. But I do think that there are definitely some banks out there that are trying to distinguish themselves with that more personal approach. Like, for example, many of the major banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, guys like that, they have so many restrictions placed on them that there's no leeway for your banker to say anything to you. But if you go, for example, to a local credit union or to even a local or a regional bank, a lot of times those guys have more flexibility to create a relationship. It's called relationship banking, to create a relationship with you that will work even though you don't meet all of the, quote, underwriting standards.
Okay.
But you got to be out there looking for them, right? That's the key.
Right. Kristin, you want to hop in?
Oh, you're muted. Okay.
I'm taking notes. I'm listening. I'm looking at comments. This is what happens every time I get into a Hangout. I love it. Loving this conversation, and I'm loving that the Super Troopers, as they're called for Network Roundtable, are sharing their perspectives on prosperity. And I have to say I am definitely on the same page. I'm going to shout out my boy, Phil Boyer, Break Rules. Prosperity is living life, doing things I love, experiencing new things, doing it with people that are important to me. Pamir, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I feel health and contentment or happiness are part of prosperity too. So for me, what I want to bring out, and perhaps this, as Stephanie was saying in the beginning, this is why she asked me to join her, is, we're talking, the topic is prosperity in business. And not to take anything away from Network Roundtable, but I don't believe prosperity in business is an accurate statement. I think success in business leads to prosperity, because prosperity is a way of life. As Stephanie said in the beginning, it's feeling content, it's feeling fulfilled. As Phil said, it's a lifestyle. It's something that we're striving for. So as entrepreneurs and as business owners, we are the ones that have the courage to take that leap of faith, to start a business. Why? Because we're seeking one thing and one thing only, and it is not money, it is freedom. We're seeking freedom, and freedom can be defined different ways. It is defined different ways for different people. So is success, and so is prosperity. But ultimately, that feeling that we get, regardless of who we are, that's what we're after. We want to feel like we're in control of our time and our money, that we have the people around us that we want to be around us, and that we are able to feel good at night when we lay our head on the pillow. So for me, when I look at business, I'm not looking for prosperity in business. I'm looking for a successful business. And success is measured by, am I gaining that quality of life from this business that I desire? And if I'm not, then I'm hitting Stephanie's book or Stephanie herself and saying, what is it that I'm doing wrong here? What can I do better? As Stephanie, she already elaborated on aligning ourselves with the right people. I have a little bit more, if I may expand. What I'd like to focus on with prosperity, because I think this is a component that's missing for a lot of us in business, entrepreneurs, business owners, is we are so consumed with getting what we want and achieving that successful lifestyle that it's a me first type of attitude. And one thing I do know, is that if we are only focused on ourselves, we're shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to prosperity. Prosperity starts with serving others. It starts and ends with serving others. So in our business practices, we should be looking at, how am I creating value? As Bob Berg brings out in his book, Go Givers Sell More. How am I creating value for my client, my partner? How am I creating value for myself, my family? Everything that we're doing, we should be providing some kind of value, not looking for what we can get out of it per se from that particular person, but just giving. Because I do believe that when we give abundantly, we receive abundantly.
Yep. That is so true, Christine, and it's funny because this notion of value, a lot of people take that shortcut, right? And they say value means money or prosperity means money, and it's great that you pointed that out, because that's not what we're talking about. What we're really talking about is money being the result of all of these things that you do to create value for other people. And once you're able to do that, that's when the benefits kind of come to you. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to magically walk around to, money's just going to start raining out of the trees. You need to be smart about it. You need to be strategic about it. But you need to always have in mind what you offer, what you uniquely provide to help people do better in whatever it is they're doing. If you're a coach, it's to help them maybe get organized, or it's to help them understand and get clarity. Or, if you're an author, it's to expose them to stories they would never have understood had you not written it. So we all have value to bring. You just need to get really clear about what that is, and then make sure that everything you're doing honors that value. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It totally makes sense. Go ahead, Gail.
Okay, I'm going to give this my best shot because I'm not really exactly sure what I want to say, but I'm putting together what you said, Kristin, and also what you said, Stephanie. So let's see. So if I may, I think what was bubbling up from that is that in your livelihood, that prosperity comes from, how do I say this? Like whether the service or the product that you provide, that it comes from some sort of like place of fulfillment that you have inside, a fulfillment to give in a certain way, and that could really take any shape or form. But it's not just about me, and it's not just going to work, 9 to 5 every day, collecting the paycheck and coming home. Sometimes you have to do that. I mean, life is life. Sometimes you just get into a certain situation and you have to do what you have to do. But that the prosperity comes from just like inherently knowing what you have to give. It like almost like the purpose. Remember, Kristin, we had that show on purpose. That somehow, that's what thanks for bearing with me here, because I think that's where I was trying to come from, that somehow the person's purpose in some way is tapped into in terms of like the giving aspect. Is that what you were talking about, Stephanie?
Yeah,
sorry, Kristin, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I just have to say, I love it. I love it.
I know. Sound like me now. Love it. Yeah, I do love it, and that's exactly right. It's I call it purpose. I've heard on Phil on Ken Menasse's show, Microminute Show, refers to it as passion. There are a lot of us who start businesses just because we hear that's what we should do, and you feel that urge. I think everybody feels the urge at some point to break out. It's just whether or not we have the courage to do it. That's a whole nother show. But some people just arbitrarily choose something, whether it's, okay, that person's doing that, it's working for them, I'm going to do it. But that can only take you but so far. I believe that when we tap into our purpose, our passion, our calling, regardless of the circumstances, you're going to drive through, because it's something that's pulling you. You can't help yourself. It keeps you up at night. It puts bags under your eyes, like I had to cover mine today. So I've been up all night, every night this week, and Stephanie's like, go to bed, go to bed. I'm like, I can't. This is what I love to do. I can rest on Friday, so it is passion, Gail, definitely.
So there's probably a lot of people out there in the world that do their 9 to 5 or their 9 to 10, whatever it is these days. It's probably a lot more than 9 to 5, but they have their job, and it doesn't feed their soul, and it maybe not even feed their ego either, and basically they're not really happy. And so if that person, I would say that person really isn't living a prosperous life. And that if they at some point want to explore, becoming more fulfilled, then they would have to take a look at these areas in their life and see what changes they might need to make. And some people will do that and some people won't. I mean, there's probably a million people walking around that this conversation wouldn't even be on their radar screen, and to each their own. But does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It does, Gail, but something that's interesting is that as more people with this mindset start businesses, you're going to have more companies that are focused on that for their employees. I'm thinking about Zappos here, and Kristin knows a lot more about Zappos, I think, than I do. But that's, like, at a certain point at Zappos, I'll have to look it up, but I think what happened was they changed their management structure, right? Because Tony, I never pronounce his last name right, but the president of Zappos is really all about trying to make sure that everybody who is there, whether they're cleaning the closets or they're on the line with customers or they're working in the warehouse, he wants to make sure that everybody who is there is 100% committed to the mission of the company, which is provide amazing customer service. We want to make our customers happy. And he's trying all these different ways to make sure that that happens. And one of them was they changed their management structure, and I think it was more of a cross-reporting or something. And he actually told people, look, if this isn't right for you, you're welcome to leave, and I'll give you, I don't remember, 6 months severance pay or something. Like, if this is not right for you, I want you to go somewhere else, because this is not the right place for you, and you're not going to be fulfilled here, which means that you can't fulfill the mission of this company. Does that make sense? I think as we get more guys like that, guys and gals, then there will be a place for those people who feel lost in a 9-to-5, even if they don't want to run their own business.
Right, and I think in a sense it's also self-selecting, because I think anybody that decides to start their own business right off the bat, they're doing it for some sort of fulfillment, in the first place. Yeah.
Yep. Kristin, did you have something?
I wanted to bring attention to JD's comment. She kind of had a comment question. She said she learned, hey JD, she learned of Go Give or Go Giver through Mary Kay. And big ups to my professional networkers, because that's who I am too. She says it's a concept that's been around for a while. Ladies, can you speak to a person like me who doesn't have an uncle in the business, in quotes, and who grew up in a rob Peter pay Paul type mindset? How do you shake off that fixed mindset that says, I'll never have anything because I've never had anything? I've heard myself say this and I want to stop now. So if I may start the conversation there, first of all, thanks JD for your honesty. Bravo, because if you don't step up, then you won't ever step up in life. So my answer to that, I'm going to quote one of my mentors, Jim Rohn. He says that work harder on yourself than you do on your job or business, and you'll never work a day in your life. I truly believe that success, prosperity, everything that we seek in life, it starts right here. Right here. It's within you. So awareness is the first step. You already have that. So now that you're aware, reach out like you are now. Align yourself with people who you resonate with, or resonate with you rather, and you feel are where you picture yourself to be. Maybe not exactly, but you admire certain qualities, whether it's their business sense or their spiritual side, whatever it is. And trust me, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So the right people will come into your life and feed your mindset with what you need to take that next shift in your life.
Yep, that's so true. And I want to say also thanks so much, JD, for being here and for having the courage, like Kristin said, to say, I recognize this, but what do I do next? And I think everything, of course, Kristin, you stole my thunder. Everything you said is exactly what I wanted to say. But that's cool because it's important. And I think the one other thing I would say is when you're out there maybe looking at people that you admire and you're saying, oh, wow, that's really cool and that looks interesting, don't forget to be checking in with yourself. Because this is one place where I do see a lot of people get themselves into trouble, and we alluded to it a little earlier, is, there's lots of people out there who are like, the 7 steps to a 6-figure business, the 12 steps to be a millionaire in 30 days. I mean, there is plenty of stuff out there that is not going to work for you. And so the best you can do is remember every single time you hear something to check in with your inner wisdom, and to even create a daily practice that helps you get better at that. And actually, I want to ask you, Gail, isn't that something you talk about in your first book?
Now you stole my thunder. No, really, that's exactly where I was going to go. Thank you. Yes, and I wanted to say that that JD, what you bring up is not a business question at all. I mean, this is like so much deeper. This is like a self-worth question, or a self-love question, or a self-trust question. And so, you have to begin where you're at. And so it sounds like where you're at right now is knowing, first of all, that you're not happy where you're at, and that maybe the thoughts and the ideas and things that are running around in your mind are not really your truth. And I don't want to put, words into your mouth, but it sounds like you're looking for something other than what your monkey mind is telling you. And so it just goes back to what Kristin was saying. You have to, I'd say number one is to really get in touch with your own truth, what your truth is for you. And that's a life practice as well. It's really that this is my area. So it's really perfect for me, but it just seems like you need to, or it would be helpful for you to learn to get in touch with your intuition, or your, that inner voice, that inner wisdom. Like Kristin was saying that also, that learn to hear that. Learn to hear that above all else. Make that a priority, because nothing is going to fall into place. Any job or anything, any change that you want to make, it can't come from without. It has to come from within. And there's so many ways to go about doing that, but just to really learn to hear your intuition, and it will guide you. There's tons of books out there, like Stephanie said. I mean, I've written 2 of them, and there's many ways that you can go about learning how to hear your intuition more. The first step is really learning how to quiet your mind, because when we hear all those, the 12 steps to success, that Stephanie, that you were just saying, those are outside rules or outside opinions, and they could be very good opinions, but it may not be what you need right now. It sounds like what's important for you is to get in touch with yourself. And once you do, step by step by step by step, it'll unfold, and it's really a life journey. I hope that helps.
I love that, Gail, because it's something that I put in the comments, and something that's been turning around in my brain for a long, long time, is that I really think that owning your own business is like one of the best personal development exercises out there, because you absolutely have to be clear, and you can't make good decisions like you said, Gail, if you've got the monkey mind going, a mile a minute every single time you try to make a decision, and there's all these crazy thoughts going around in your head. And the one other thing I would just say to you, JD, is you want to remember that you're not for everybody, and everybody's not for you. And this was something I really had a hard time with, because at the beginning I'm like, oh, but that person's so successful. So if what they're saying isn't resonating with me, well, it must be me. There must be something wrong with me. I must need to try harder, or I must need to read more of their stuff or follow them more closely. Sometimes that's your intuition, right? Like, you're attracted to something and you kind of get to know about it, but then it's just not clicking. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to do it this way because this very successful person did it this way. If it's not resonating for you, take what serves you, whatever it is that you learned from them, and then keep trucking, right? Don't let it stop you, or don't let that turn into a roadblock for you, because that's really easy. A lot of people are like, well, I followed the system and it's not working. And it's like, well, because it wasn't adapted to you. It was somebody else's system that you put on top of your stuff. You have to make it your system.
And if it doesn't resonate, if I just might add, if it doesn't resonate, trust that. Trust that, because it is your truth. And that's hard to do sometimes, because we've learned for as long as we've been alive not to trust that. But you have to be brave enough. You know, you have to just really just put your desire to be the best person that you could possibly be, and to trust yourself, to take that leap of faith and do it, because nobody's going to do it for you. And you know what's going to be the worst that happen? You'll fall down, you'll learn, you'll pick yourself up, you get up again.
And that was the other thing that I wanted to say is, and this is very hard, okay? I can tell you this as somebody who struggles with this all the time. You will get another chance. Whatever it is, it does not have to be perfect. You will get another chance. So do not hold yourself back and say, well, I'm not going to put it out there yet. I'm not going to try yet. It's not perfect yet. The best way to figure out what's right is, what's right for you, is to try. Because a lot of times the only way you're going to get that intuition of, you know what, I should keep doing this, or, you know what, I got to get the heck out of here, is by doing. You won't get it just sitting at your desk thinking about it. You're only going to get it when you're out there, like, you know, communicating on social media or something like that. So you got to try. Does that make sense?
I wanted to expand a little bit. I hope JD got her answer. Yes, she said awesome. Woohoo! Yeah, so I wanted to expand a little bit. This is going a little bit back in the conversation prior to JD's question, which was a phenomenal question, because I know this is going to help a lot of folks. Is the total, looking at the total aspect of, as Stephanie says, she loves when I say that, the aspect of building or creating prosperity. You know, it's not just the business. It's not just mastering the business. It's not just conditioning, you know, yourself to be skilled in the business. It's also our physical health. Are we eating the right things? Are we meditating or taking the right things into our mind? It goes down to even what we watch on television. It affects our performance in our vocation, whether it's a business or a job. So we, you know, a lot of people, the old school, if you will, look or perspective on running business is, you know, work yourself to the bone, no sleep, and that perspective is shifting. Masses have finally caught up. Welcome, masses. Finally caught up to the fact that we do require proper sleep, and when we do get 8 hours of sleep, our bodies and our minds perform at a much higher level. So we need to make sure that we're not just, you know, focusing on the business and making sure the business is running correctly. Are we operating correctly? Are we functioning at our top level? So one of my favorite quotes. Hello. One of my favorite.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's life. It's okay, Gail. So yeah, one of the things that I always say is never be afraid to challenge the status quo. And Gail and Stephanie touched on this already. Never be afraid to challenge the status quo. Here's a perfect example. I looked. As Stephanie said, I've been blowing up social media this week because I've been really excited about this conversation, because prosperity is something that I love to talk about, and especially a prosperity mindset. So I decided to look up the definition of prosperity. I read the definition, and the first part was okay. I'm not even going to read it to you folks, but it said afterwards in terms of financial or monetary aspect. I rolled my eyes, closed the dictionary app, and put it down and didn't post it. A lot of people would look at the dictionary definition and take that as fact and accept it as truth for them. And just like Gail and Stephanie said, we need to know within ourselves what our values are, and if those are our truths, don't be afraid to stand up with those truths, because I did not like the dictionary definition of prosperity.
If I may, I've just been letting you guys go because you are doing such a fabulous job at exploring this in such a valuable way. Or at least I should say I have found it very valuable. Thank you. I really appreciate everything that you guys have said. And one word really kind of sticks out to me because I'm kind of dealing with it right now. But courage. I think the courage to act with conviction and integrity is pretty much the definition of all of our core values. That's what I'm kind of coming to. Because what is prosperity? It's the courage to act according to what's going to give you happiness. What do you guys think?
I love that.
I don't.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Kristin.
I was just gonna say that Deborah Oakland, hey Deborah is in the audience, she would love that because she's all about courage, and I agree, Kristin. Beautiful sentiment. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Well, the one thing that I think is hard for people to connect, right, is this notion. A lot of people have the notion that courage is this kind of exceptional thing, right? That it just happens once in a while, like, you know, you're in a car accident and you do something brave, or there's a house fire. That is a type of courage. I agree. But the truth is, it is actually a lot more courageous to get up every single day and try than to have that one exceptional moment, right? Now, they're both important. I'm not saying you shouldn't go save somebody if you can. But, you know, I think that we don't do ourselves service, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A lot of times we don't give ourselves credit for the fact that it's a challenge for us, and we need to recognize that courage as well. And you don't want to rest on your laurels, but you want to say, okay, you know what? Here's how far I've come. For example, I can say this because Kristin and Gail both know it. When I first got started on social media, I thought the universe was one Google community. Like, I didn't have any idea there was anything else out there, and I didn't want to know. I was like, dude, this is already challenging enough right here. But as you recognize, okay, you know what, so I'm doing okay here, and these people are nice, and this could be interesting. What if, ask yourself the question, what if other people could benefit from what I know how to do? What if other people would be interested in helping me, or what else could I learn from them? And as soon as you approach it from that curiosity standpoint, it still takes courage, for sure, but sometimes it doesn't feel quite so scary.
I remember, I don't know if, well, I'll just say it. Okay, so the first time that I ever remember your name was in Twitter. But I know that I should have recognized you from Google Plus because what you said in Twitter was like, oh, I know I can trust you, or so, it was something like that. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Who is she? And so then I looked you up, and I was like, oh, I know her from there. Okay, now I do. But I knew you first in Twitter.
Oh my gosh,
I remember, like,
so funny.
my Plume app, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave you a pretty
That's
color.
Right. I remember that. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yes. But that's the thing, right? Like, if Kristin had not said, hey, you know what? I think I know that girl. Let me see. We would never have talked, right? I mean, we probably would have run into each other at some point. But you know, we've been able to share all kinds of really cool stuff, like the fact that we live in the same place, you know, over the last year. And
then I introduced you to Ammon, right?
Exactly.
And where has that gone?
Right. If she hadn't taken the chance, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't let your fear keep you from taking the chance, because a lot of times if you're committed to the value that you provide, and you're just out there sharing from your heart, you're really trying to help people, the outcome may not be exactly what you thought, but it's going to be something that's going to be really good for you.
And I do think that it's important to, like, allow yourself to read about things that you want. Like, I kind of, like, have stayed away. Like, when I first was like, okay, so it looks like I'm going to be a host for prosperity. I hadn't planned on that because it's really not my thing. Like, I don't feel like I'm a hippie girl. Like, and prosperity to me before meant something different. It was more this thing that you did. But now I understand it in such a different way because I allowed myself to be open to learning about it. And so thank you. And I hope that everyone kind of takes that to heart and if it's something that you're uncomfortable with, it's probably a reason for it, and it's not always because it's evil. It's maybe because it's something that is not something that resonates with you because it's new. But don't cut yourself off from being a more whole person.
That's really beautiful. I'd actually like to add something about, you know, taking that chance or courage. This is for you, Kristin, but it's like I discovered something once about this, about the courage. It completely changed my life. It was like this secret that I discovered about courage and trust. And this is exactly what it is. That when you decide to be courageous, it's not about deciding, okay, from now on, I'm going to be courageous with everything that happens. And I'm thinking in 20 years from now, I'm going to be courageous too. It's just way too overwhelming that you just have to be courageous in 1 second at a time. You have to be courageous by picking up the phone if that's scary to do. And you don't have to do anything else other than be courageous in that moment. Trust in that moment that the water is going to hold you up like it did before, and that's all you have to worry about. And then after you're courageous in that moment is done. And then the next moment is going to come, and then you're going to be courageous again. But all you have to do is be courageous in that exact moment when you have an action to take or a decision to make. And that's it. And I think that, you know, we can take baby steps. And I think we can handle that. You know what I'm saying? We can handle one thing at a time. It's just, it can be overwhelming when we have to like make some sort of like commitment to God or whatever it is. Like, from now on, I'm going to be courageous. First of all, it's impossible, you know. But if we just take it, little baby steps, each little step, I think we can handle that, you know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And as you were saying that, it was painting this picture of dots, connecting them, and then it made my prosperity picture. Thank you.
Yay, I'm so glad to hear that. But I really love what you shared, Gail, about this moment, because that's another, I know we're not going to have time to talk about it today, but that's another really critical element of being prosperous, is recognizing that all you really have is right now. And so if what's happening to you is you're off next week in the client meeting that, you know, may or may not go well, or you don't know what you're going to say or whatever, and you're missing what's happening right now, those are opportunities that you're not going to get back. That's the piece that, as much as it sounds counterintuitive, that's why I call business a personal development tool or exercise, is because you have to get really good at that. When you own your own business, you're pulled in so many different directions, but you have to get really good at focusing on the present moment and saying, like Gail said, what is the right thing for me to do right now? And then you do it, and then you ask yourself the question again, and that's how you get through your days, because what you're really trying to balance as well is how much you're going to give to your business while still being the free, family, friend, loving person you want to be. And if you can't marry those two together, then you can't really be successful. You're always going to be missing a part of the puzzle. Make sense? Oh, Kristin, I think you're muted. Oh,
I was going to say I think that Gail's muted. Were you trying to say something, Gail? Okay.
My feed is slow, so if I may, I wanted to bring up Michael Thomas's comment. Well, mention it because comment tracker isn't working, but anyone can grow alone. But when you or we grow as a collective, directions along with quality seem to resonate with prosperity. Michael, we're on the same page, honey. So true. We cannot do this alone. Prosperity and abundance resides in the collective. It's not a solo effort. So for those of us that have that I'm in this for myself, by myself attitude, and no one's helping me, and woe is me, and all of this stuff, you got to shed all of that mindset and really align yourself. There are people that are out here, as I mentioned in CLB Live 1-to-1, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime to help us on this journey called life, a part of which is business. So I just wanted to thank him for sharing that, because I totally agree.
And another thing that I heard from Ammon yesterday that I just fell in love with, business is community. I think a lot of people miss that. But we're in business so that we can contribute to our community, so we can be functioning community members. And so it doesn't have to be that, ooh, business, it's something over here. It's right here. It's right here.
Well, and that's where the whole cycle of getting clear about what it is you are really good at, what value you provide, and then connecting with the people who recognize that value, be they clients or vendors, employees, or financial partners, creates that community that you're talking about, Kristin. Because you can't have a community where people don't kind of see things the same way, where they don't have the same core values. And that's really what, to me, being successful in business is about. It's creating a community of people who have the same core values and who are all out there trying to help each other while you're, it sounds crazy, but making the world a better place, while you're trying to get to where we're all going.
It doesn't sound crazy at all. I think that every person would say they want to make the world a better place. It might sound cheesy, but that's because I think there's some faction that has decided that it needs to be a cheesy thing, but it's not. Making every day better for our children, for us, for our parents, for people around us, our friends, our dogs, our cats, it's human to have that desire.
Right. And to want to use your talents, whatever it is that you have, uniquely you, that can make that happen, right? And that's the part that I really love about the community that you're mentioning, because you're able to hone that when you have a group of people that you trust and who will give you honest, kind, but honest feedback about what you're doing. That's when you can figure out even better. Oh, you know what? I thought I was good at this, but it turns out I'm really good at just this one little piece. But boy, am I good at that one little piece.
There's so much more to prosperity than I considered. This has been a fabulous conversation, guys. I think we're kind of getting close to needing to wrap up. Shall we start? I know. Shall we start with shameless self-promotion? Let's have Kristin. Let's have you start.
Well, I just wanted to say that I totally enjoyed this discussion. I don't want it to end, but it doesn't have to. There's always Replay City and the comment stream, so we can still engage. So I'm just calming myself down in this moment. Shameless self-promotion. Right now, I'd just like to promote my on-demand series, CLB Live 1-to-1. It's hashtag CLB Live 1-to-1, and it is a show that highlights the power of divine connections, of which Stephanie has been a guest on my show. Gail is a scheduled guest for the show as well, and it's personal, and it's a way for me to share the people that are in my life that are helping me along my journey, and the goal is to inspire other entrepreneurs to pattern what I'm practicing to achieve, guess what? Prosperity. So thank you for having me here. Oh, how do you find CLB Live 1-to-1? KristinLBowen.com/CLB Live 1-to-1. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. That sounds like a fabulous show. Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you.
Please put me on your notification list.
I will. Thank you.
Gail?
This really was a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad that at the last minute I decided to hop in and join you guys. It was really, I learned a lot too. I really did. This was wonderful. So I'd like to invite everybody to come visit me at my website, GailHarrisAuthor.com. I have my White Bread Wisdom blog there where I try to put something out once a week where I share my thoughts on parenting, self-love, and intuition, and how those topics are all related, which is the real juicy stuff. And I also like to invite people to connect with me on Twitter at Gail Harris _. I'm really excited because these days, many of you know that I have a book that came out in the fall called Finding Zoe, and I'm actually doing a radio campaign now to promote the book and also to promote intuition and trusting our gut. So this was so appropriate, today's topic on the show. And so actually on Twitter, I'm posting all the different radio interviews that I'll be doing. So catch me there, and thanks so much.
I actually, the picture for our banner, I took it out, a picture of you with Brandy, and you just had this ultimate expression of joy, and I was like, I want to put that on there, because that's just, it is what I think of when I think of you. I think of you and joy. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Stephanie.
Well, of course, I'd say huge, huge thanks to you, Kristin, for getting this all organized and for trying to rein us in. I know sometimes it's hard, but you did a great job. And for thinking of the topic, of course, because, that was awesome. And I want to say thanks to Gail, who, you know how I feel about you. We're not going to make it into a gushy thing, but I love you so much, and I'm so glad that I've gotten to benefit from everything that you have to share. And Kristin, so I don't want to cry. Let's just move on. We'll do shameless self-promotion. And for those of you who don't know, I recently wrote my first book, which is called Funding Your Business Without Selling Your Soul. And if you'd like to learn more about the book, you can go to fundyourbizbook.com. And when you buy it, let's be positive, when you buy it, I would love it if you would write me a review or get connected with me here on the Plus or on Twitter and tell me what you thought about it and what I can do to help you more, because that's really what it's all about. Take this information we've given you, put it into action, and then keep learning, right? Keep going. Figure out what you need to do next. So thank you also to everyone who watched and commented today. You guys are awesome.
Woohoo! Okay. Well, let me see. I guess I have to go. I'm going to actually give a shout out for Reach, Uplift, Connect. I always say it's wrong. RUCW. Reach, Uplift, Connect Women. And it's Lainey's group. That's how I always call it. I always call it Lainey's group. But we are on LinkedIn, and I'm starting to get that going. And so I want to encourage everyone to go on LinkedIn and find us there. I'll put the link out there. I would really love it if you would just help us get that going, because we have like 5 people so far. But it's everyone that you're already connected to already on the Plus. And of course, you can always find me on the Plus. And lend one hand, of course, always kindness, economy, one hand up, one hand down, bringing everyone else with you. Any last thoughts, Kristin?
As I type in the comment stream, thanking everyone. My last thoughts are what I started with. True wealth is a mindset. And with the right mindset, anything is possible. Everything that we discussed today, from my point of view, it has to do with what's going on right here. So work on you. You'll never work a job or a business a day in your life.
Gail. Uh-oh. Mute. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I was actually just saying that I'm complete. So thank you so much.
I love that. That's really appropriate for this, I think. Stephanie.
Well, there's so much more I know we could say. We could make a whole other hour. But I think probably the one thing I want to leave people with is this notion that nothing happens in a vacuum, right? So try to remember as you're making decisions and as you're getting these kind of scary feelings or whatever's happening, it's all interconnected, and it's all what's supposed to be happening right now. So I know it's very hard, but try not to be thrown off by that, and keep believing in what you have to offer, and you're going to find the right way to express that and the right people to connect with who are going to value that for you.
Thank you so much. This really does conclude our hour that we have right now talking about prosperity. But of course, the discussion doesn't have to end here, and I'm sure it won't. Thank you so much for joining us on Network Roundtable, Softer Side of Business, and live long and prosper.